Not too long ago, I discovered Twitter. A mistake. And I found out people were still arguing about the throne room fight in TLJ. Now, I haven't tried breaking down a fight before. I'm far from the first on this scene, but it sounds like fun. I'm going to start with Mad Max as a point of comparison. If you don't care to sit through my build-up, you can skip to this timestamp. The fight scene in Mad Max Fury Road is set up by Max holding slave wives and Furiosa at gunpoint. Max is chained to a war boy and car door, has a cage on his face marking him as feral, and his shoddy doesn't actually work. The fight starts when Max is distracted by a wife cutting the chain and Furiosa uses the opportunity to tackle Max. During the tackle, we can see the wives run off and Max hits the ground hard, with a cutaway just before his head rebounds. While Max is stunned, Furiosa grabs the shoddy and tries to pull off an execution. The gun fails to fire. There is a pause as she realizes she's been duped, and she moves to hit Max, who's at this point snapped out of it, gets angry, and the proper fight starts. So far, no problems. The wives pull Max's chain to get him off Furiosa as they struggle for the shoddy, which is where we find our first problem. Furiosa lets go of the shoddy, but in the next scene she still has her grip. This lasts for less than a second and it's clearly just a mistake by the actors. This wasn't a result of character's fighting style or technique. There was no in-world cause for this to happen instead of just keeping her grip. So I'm going to call this a nitpick, which I define as valid criticism, but it's minor and without consequence. Ideally, a movie would be free of all problems, but a few nitpicks are fine and to be expected. Minor, of course, is up to debate, so whenever I make a criticism, I'll give my reasoning for its severity. But I did mislead you. Between Furiosa letting go and holding it again, there is a fraction of a second where Furiosa reaches for the shoddy again before Max can pull it away. So it's no longer a valid criticism, so it's not a nitpick. But moving forward, now you have a better idea on how I'm judging film. After getting pulled away, a wife throws bolt cutters to Furiosa, who then aims for Max's shoddy instead of Max himself. If the cutters were more dangerous, like a sword or lightsaber, this would be a problem. But since striking Max's booty wouldn't accomplish as much as disarming him, this is fine. Furiosa swings above Max's head, completely missing him. But Max's body language showed he was preparing to stand, and only a quick duck saved him, so this is also fine. After the door plays its part, we get to the gun. When fired, the slide doesn't move. Light and sound is edited in after the fact to hide this. All the characters treat it like a real gun though, so this is just a nitpick. Also, the gun wakes up and remembers to move again later, so it's just kinda odd. At the end of the fight, Furiosa has her hand behind her back, just waiting for Max to grab it. This is the same criticism as the shoddy, but with no saving grace at the end. So this is also just a nitpick. That was quick. Not many problems. So what themes, tones, subjective goobly-gook were they trying to achieve? Low tech. Just fighting in the sand. Improvised, using mostly hand tools and grappling until a single firearm is introduced. Desperate. Primal. They use quick cuts to keep the camera close to the action. Drum-heavy action music to set the mood. Giving impact to the hits. So in that context, how did it hold up? Or in other words, how much impact did the objective qualities have on what they were trying to achieve? The attacks are all in character, or in other words, they are fighting to win. A common problem in fight scenes are characters choosing to prolong the fight when they should be going for kill shots, or at least debilitating shots. All characters in the scene are, well, in character. Max, Nux, and Furiosa are fighting. The wives are, for the most part, trying to stay out of the way. Because they've been enslaved for so long, they're meek and unconfident, with little or no fighting experience. so it makes sense for them to not want to join in. They seem to be much more scared of Max than Nux, a feral man in a muzzle versus a war boy that is trying to take them alive, although they do try to stop Max a couple times. A common movie mistake, especially in fights with multiple people, is shadowboxing, or stalling. Background characters waiting their turn or throwing punches at nothing. Mad Max avoids this problem by selection of the characters involved, and later by limiting the number of fighters by car rating. Environmental obstacles like tight hallways are also a good choice. The prop gun, totally inert, then cycling. Since the fight is built on the physicality of the brawl, a gun prop failure has little impact. The arm hold slip has a direct, negative impact on the goal for the exact reasons that the gun prop didn't. For a scene focused on the hard hits and grappling, a character holding their own arm in place until it's grabbed goes directly against that. Now, it is a very minor detail over a very short amount of time, but it is disappointing. If this were caught on set, it would need a single reshoot of a few seconds to fix. Nothing more. Overall, not perfect, but still a very good fight. Now that I've set my standards and eased you into it, let's get to the main event. The throne room fight in TLJ starts with Kylo's betrayal of Snoke. Rey and Kylo share a look, the guards move in, and the fight begins. Right off the bat we have something. Why? Sith betrayals are downright standard at this point. With the sudden death of Snoke, shouldn't the royal guard swear loyalty to Kylo? He's their new boss. Or does Kylo's alliance with Rey negate all of that, as it would be seen as a betrayal to the entirety of the Sith Order? The chain of command only further confuses things, because we don't actually know who's the rightful second in command under Snoke. But that's more of a movie issue, not really this fight scene, so I'm not going to count this, we're just going to move on. The first shot of the fight is a single take lasting 11 seconds. At the 4-second mark, 2 of the guards are already shadowboxing. Now watch what this guy does. Did that look like they ran off so Kyle wouldn't get overwhelmed? Now how about this one? This is my favorite.
At what point does this make any sense?
This guy completely misses Rey when her back is turned to him, just so he can hit his buddy instead. Guy on the left misses an easy body shot to go for the head. That's fine, I guess. But the dude on the right straight up aims for the lightsaber instead of Kylo. This whole thing. Do you really expect me to believe that Rey can block 3 overhead strikes with just one arm? Why did they all go overhead? If just one guy tried to stab her, she'd be dead. And when she kicks one of them, why do all 3 go flying? Actually, let's talk about that. The argument I've heard in favor of the film is that Rey was using the Force. I really like this theory. We know that Rey is really strong in the Force, but has little to no training in it. So if she started using it instinctually when her emotions are high, like during a fight, she may not even realize she's doing it. That would be really cool, but unfortunately, there's nothing to support this. Nothing when she's training, nothing when she tries to kill Luke, and no signs of it during the kick. But we do have plenty of examples of the guards being weird. I wish it was the Force, but it's not. That's just the first 11 seconds. The movie then cuts so we can see some transports blown up and the codebreaker get paid for snitching. I don't know why this happens. It interrupts what's supposed to be a dramatic and intense fight scene with much slower character drama before throwing us right back into the fight. It's jarring and distracting. I assume it's to give the impression that some time has passed. We jump back into a 13-second take, this time much less busy and a little easier to follow. Kylo gives a guard a good bonk and throws him instead of just killing him, but apparently he hit him hard enough that the poor little guy forgot to swing and kill Kylo, so I guess they're even. Rey kills the pole guy when he does one of those useless spins, but Whipman grapples her lightsaber and pulls her in close. All she has to do is angle her lightsaber forward and he's dead. But she drags it out for some artificial drama before gutting him all fancy-like. She yeets the whip off her saber and into a curtain, setting it on fire. I approve. You'd want that cumbersome and potentially dangerous thing off of your weapon. And the whole thing looks rad. Now Dagger Guy, formerly known as Pole Guy, joins the fight. Question. Why is he waiting until now? If he came in a few seconds ago, he could have gotten a cheap shot in while Rey was whipped. And if this is the same pole guy she already killed, how did he get way over there before making his miraculous recovery? Kylo finds himself binded by 2 spears, and in a less egregious way than Rey's miracle triple block, overpowers them both and stabs some recently unarmed guy. Now, this guy has caused a little controversy. Some say he just dropped his weapon. Others say it was knocked out of his hands by Kylo's surge just above the camera frame. Now, to me, it looks like his spear wasn't close enough to be hit, and I'm doubtful that there was enough force to knock it out of his grip. But I really can't say for sure, so I'm willing to give the movie this one. This scene took me some time to figure out. Kyle is fighting a whip and 2 short spears. He blocks a whip, blocks a spear and grabs a handle with his left hand, strikes a second spear, ducks the whip and injures him with the held spear, blocks the spear with the spear, then lets go to mercy kill the whip. I like most of this, except for the wide open 2-for-1 he missed when he performed the mercy kill. Rey swings over Knife Man for some reason, then Knife Man follows an overhead strike with a boot to the gut instead of just stabbing her with the other knife that he's already holding. Kylo disarms, but not kills Spearman in a move I quite like. Then when Kylo has his buddy on the ropes, Spearman comes back unarmed to buy his friend some time to recover, sacrificing his own life in the process. You know, I thought running in like that looked dumb, but after a few rewatches, I think this is my favorite character. Anyway, Best Guy is brutally killed, and when Kylo dodges an incoming spear, he drops his lightsaber. Why? Kylo catches the spear and is even kind enough to help the gentleman put him into a chokehold. Rey's up next. Are you excited? Rey swings at Knife Man, who blocks it with his right as he brings his left to her belly. So, Rey's dead, right? Nope. Watch that left hand. When bringing the knife from one side of Rey's belly to the other, they edited it out. Remember earlier when I mentioned a little controversy? Well, this is the big one. Editing a weapon out of someone's hand to save the main character is the worst case of plot armor I have ever seen. But I have heard an argument against this. That being, it happens so quickly that you need to pause to notice it. And while I don't think that's the case, it is true that the majority of the most vocal critics didn't catch this on their first viewing. But let me explain why this mistake matters. In other parts of the fight, like the misses or running away, you can argue that the actors just goofed or missed their cues. But a one-on-one fight where someone's weapon has to get torn from reality for the scene to work indicates a failure of the fight plan itself. A simple reshoot can't save this. They'd have to rewrite the plan so Knife Man only has one knife, which changes the other scenes he's in. Okay, are we on the same page now? Good, because we're not done. Knife Man's right hand blocks the lightsaber, then goes through it. They haven't been able to do this before, and it happens in the same scene as the disappearing knife. So this is another glaring problem. Also, Rey just dug a lightsaber in that dude's neck. It just keeps compounding. In this position, Rey can rotate the lightsaber to strike his legs since her left hand and right bicep is keeping the blade off her throat. When Rey drops to escape, Knife Man has the chance to strike her, but doesn't. Rey kills Knife Man, Kylo kills Spear Man, and the fight is over. So let's look at our goals. Personal, internal struggle made manifest. Codependence, a struggle of identity and survival. Longer cuts serve to increase the tension, though it does utilize shortcuts when the conflict gets closer and more one-on-one. Slow dark strings transition to a faster pace, higher pitch to follow the energy of the scene. Let's start with what went right. The color symbolism. Before the fight begins, Rey and Kylo's faces are lit by their respective lightsabers, reflecting who they are at their core. As the fight progresses, the colors of the Sith burn out, replaced by a more neutral tone. At the very end, Rey's face was lit blue by her lightsaber until she gave it to Kylo to save his life, whose face also flashed blue, but only for a moment. Symmetry and cooperation. Several times during the fight, one was attacked, and as the strike landed, the camera cut to the other, who just got hit by a near identical strike. They also work with each other and offer assistance, although it should be noted that only Rey initiates this. That's subtle characterization achieved through choreography. What went wrong? Just about every aspect of the choreography itself. While the tone was fast and energetic for the lightsaber fighting, the swings were slow and clunky, drunken hooks when the tone called for jabs and weaving. Characters were often acting inconsistent with their own motives and self-preservation, passing up on kill shots when their own lives are on the line, stalling or running just to keep their opponents alive so the movie can keep moving. Just blatant errors, like knives that go through lightsabers when they need to, and just disappearing knives. Obvious signs of failed planning and a hit to your suspension of disbelief, and therefore your immersion when you notice them. So overall, not good. There were some neat ideas to work with there, but the execution of those ideas was nowhere near good enough. Good fight choreography means your immersion is intact. Every mistake, every problem chips away at your suspension of disbelief. A theme or tone that resonates with a viewer will often allow a greater tolerance to their immersion breaking, but keeping the core of it, the objective qualities intact, will give a fight with any theme higher overall quality. Higher quality scenes, in general, have lasting power, rewatchability. They can hold under scrutiny. I watched Mad Max maybe a dozen times before working on this video. When I broke it down in slow motion, I spotted only one error I missed before, and a whole bunch of new things that only increased my enjoyment of it. When I broke down the throne room fight, I found new problems in almost every cut. If you were a fan of TLJ and made it this far, thank you for hearing me out. While I believe I made a good argument against the quality of the fight, it is totally fine to enjoy something that isn't good. Fallout 4 is my favorite game, and it's kinda trash. Trenches of Hell is a beautiful dumpster fire, and sometimes it's fun to just watch two CGI Transformers punch each other. Alright, stay hydrated, have a good one.